career growth workshop. I will not be talking about marketing. If you are here to learn about marketing, this is not the right workshop for you. So I'll just state that up front. This is about career growth and career advancement into executive roles. The key component of a workshop is audience participation. I will be asking for a lot of it. If you do not participate, I will volunteer you to participate. So those are some of I will have lots of ground rules, but those are the first set of ground rules. Okay, so I'll do a quick introduction of myself. We'll talk about the 3 shifts that I made to advance in my career. And then hopefully we'll talk about your 3 shifts, and then I'm hoping to leave a lot of time for Q&A. So I'm Adiela Aviram. Currently, I lead a marketing team that leads direct-to-consumer marketing for a company called Manulife, or John Hancock. We use both names. We do life insurance, health insurance, mortgage insurance, travel insurance, all of the insurances. My education background is psychology, IT, MBA. I started off in comms and web, and then I branched off into media. So I was a media planner, a media buyer, worked at a few different agencies. Funny story, I used to work at DAC, which is the first booth that you'll see when you walk in the exhibition hall. So it was pretty funny to see some people there. And then I moved into marketing transformation. So I was at Deloitte for 7 years working in marketing transformation, and now I work at Manulife. I'm a proud mom to 2 girls. I'm an arts and music lover. I am obsessed with Malcolm Gladwell. So if you don't like him, again, not the workshop for you. Also obsessed with Lewis Hamilton. 8-time world champion. And I'm passionate about career growth, especially for women. Your turn. I want to just get a quick pulse check of maybe 2 or 3 volunteers. Just tell me what you do. And what I really want to know is why you picked this workshop of the 3 workshops. So, like, what are you hoping to get out of it? Let's put the mic runners to use. Yes, we have a volunteer. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Maya Mahmood. I'm the Senior Social Media Marketing Specialist for Shelter Point Life Insurance Company. I think I joined this workshop because I think ultimately I'm 29, and I think when I think about my career, I want to stay in marketing, and I want to ultimately become like a marketing director. I'm not sure exactly what industry I want to shift to, but that's my career goal.
Awesome. Let's get 1 or 2 more volunteers, please. Thank you.
Sure. I feel like I'm back in 6th grade, always the one with my hand up. My name is Sarah Lambert. I am the VP of Marketing for Investify, which is a fintech we sell into financial institutions. While I am technically the head of marketing and I am on the executive team, I am interested in growing my career, building a more executive presence, and frankly, feeling less frantic and more controlled.
You don't want your hair to be on fire. That is correct. Yes. Who else is in that camp? Okay, let's get 1 more person. Tell us why you chose this workshop. Just 1 more. Should I volunteer someone? Thank you.
I'm Vamsi. I work at Capital One as a senior BA, and this is my first actual job, and I'm in my early career. So at Capital One, I handle the acquisition side. I'm on the credit side of the marketing things. I handle like all the digital marketings of partnerships at Capital One.
Awesome.
And I wanted to, I'm in my early career. I wanted to go.
You want to advance?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. This is a glass room, and there are people inside doing something. For a long time in my career, I felt objectively I was pretty good at my job, but then I also felt that there were certain people who just had the playbook, and those people were over there, and somehow they had figured it out about how to proverbially climb the ladder. And for whatever reason, I couldn't figure out what they had figured out over there. How many people can relate to that sentiment? Quite a few of you. Okay. So I'm going to talk again about the 3 things that I have shifted to grow my career that will hopefully be helpful to you, but I do want to set up some ground rules around those 3 things before we get to the 3 things. Is my mic cutting in and out, or is the audio good? It's good, okay. The first ground rule is that you are actually competent. Like, that is table stakes. So please establish that. Like, do everything in your power to develop your actual craft, because that is table stakes. When it's time to move into an executive role, you must have established your craft where you can then start to focus on other things. Because I do see people who don't spend enough time establishing their craft, and then they go and start focusing on only the career path. To me, it doesn't quite mesh well. So that's ground rule number 1. Ground rule number 2 is, if anyone tells you that attitude does not matter, they are lying to you. Attitude matters, and sometimes attitude matters more than skill. If you have 2 people on your team that are just as competent in terms of the actual day-to-day work, and you have 1 spot and you can only promote 1 person, person A is really good at their job, but they think that everybody owes them something, and they show up as very whiny all the time. On the other hand, person B is also very good at their job, maybe not even as good as person A, but person B has an attitude of, how can I help you? Thank you for everything you do for me. How can I look inwards? Who's getting the promotion? B. No one wants extra stress in their life. So when people wonder sometimes why some people get promoted over others, I can guarantee you attitude plays a factor. So just keep those 2 ground rules in mind. You must be competent at your actual day job, and you must have the right attitude. What is this? What does this picture? Spicy, yep. What else? I put this, so this is my shift number 1. I have been described as spicy. What is spicy a euphemism for? Just shout it out. Bold, confrontational. Anything else? Aggressive. Go ahead. It wouldn't be directed at a man. Yep. So, keep in mind, I've been referred to as spicy. Interpret it however you want to interpret it. Now, here's my thing, and it bothered me for a long time until I figured out my thing number 1. Number 1 shift that I made was self-acceptance. I am spicy. And you know what? I kind of like it. You do have to figure out, so when you, let's put spiciness in the context of food, right? When you are introducing someone to a certain kind of food, you maybe don't want to hit them with the full level of spice, right? You maybe want to ease them into the spice. Also, some people cannot handle spicy food, no matter how hard they try. So I am spicy, but I need to figure out how to adapt my spiciness based on the context. So, whoever you are, you must wake up in the morning being able to look at yourself in the mirror and accept yourself, but also know that not everyone is there. This will hopefully make more sense as we continue through the workshop. So, how does one build self-acceptance? I have two things that have helped me to build my self-acceptance. The first one is purpose. So, to me, there is a power in having a purpose. There's a certain grounding that exists when you know your purpose. Now, your purpose does not have to be an entire book. Your purpose grows and evolves over time. Your purpose shifts, but please spend some time to articulate why you exist in the world. So this is a statement that pretty much personifies my own purpose. So I'll just read it out. Love is space. It is developing your own capacity for spaciousness within yourself to allow others to be as they truly are. So my purpose is to create space for others around me to exist as they are, not to try to change themselves. Yes, of course, evolve and get better, but I exist to create space for people to be as they truly are. And when things are crazy and everything is going insane, coming back to that purpose gives me grounding. So if you haven't already identified your purpose, start looking around you for things and people that inspire you, and that will help you figure out why you exist. If you don't understand why you exist, there will be so much corporate BS that people will be able to sway you to go with the tide. So your purpose is your backbone, it's your compass, it's the thing that grounds you. Number 2, around the self-acceptance, is this very ominous thing called executive presence. I did not plant her, by the way. She said that on her own. But it's a question that I hear discussions around all the time. Because recently someone said to me, oh, my last boss told me I didn't have any executive presence. And I said, did you ask your boss what they actually meant? And I've actually met the boss that this person was referring to, and that boss doesn't have executive presence either. So I don't even know what she was talking about. So it's very ominous. So I want to try to break it down to what it really means. When people say so-and-so has executive presence, sometimes they're referring to charisma. And what charisma really means is a person's ability to draw other people to them. And how does a person draw other people to them? It's by staying present. It's by being so grounded in this moment that the person you are with truly believes there is really nothing more important to you in that moment than them. That's what executive presence means. Here are some other components of executive presence, and if you look at the name at the bottom, you can Google it later and you can read a whole bunch more, but here are some core components of executive presence. One is connection, which is what I just talked about. So being in that moment, not focusing on anything else but that. So when you have one-on-ones with other people, when you're in a group meeting, do everything within your ability to stay connected to the people in the room, because people can feel that. Second is clarity, so the words that you choose. Clarity, conciseness, being able to communicate something so that you're not verbose, and when you speak, people truly understand what you're saying. That takes time to build, but that is a key component of executive presence. Third is control. So are you able to control your own reaction to other people's emotion? And are you catching every ball that's thrown at you? You do not need to catch every ball that's thrown at you because you will be put in so many different situations. You will not like everything everyone says to you, but you do not have to react to it. That is part of what executive presence means, is being able to control your own emotions despite what is happening around you. And then last but not least is credibility, and that also takes time to build. So have you built a reputation where when you say something, you deliver so that you have that credibility within your organization? So that's executive presence. So my shift number one in terms of accepting myself has come with two things. One is finding my purpose, and two is building that executive presence. So let's move on to shift number 2. What is this person doing? Checking out the crowd, thinking. They are hiding. They are hiding behind a curtain and peeking around the corner to see what is happening. I watch a lot of people, and sadly, a lot of women hide. How are you going to get promoted when you are hiding and no one knows you or what you do or who you are? How many people have gotten promoted just by doing their job? Nothing else, just doing your job. Very few. So I think you all have the understanding that, here's my shift number 2, relationships matter. You have to spend the time to come out from behind the curtain. Humans are inherently lazy. They are not going to do the extra work to get to know you or how good you are. You have to show it. And the only way you can show your talent is by building the relationships. So, on the relationship front, there are 3 relationships that are important: sponsorship, mentorship, and your boss. However, those relationships are different. And if you don't understand the difference between the 3 relationships, they will not serve you well. So here are the types of conversations you have with your boss. The conversations with your boss should be very action-oriented. It doesn't mean you have to hide when things are wrong. You can totally say when things are wrong, but you must contribute also, what have you tried? Or what are you thinking you should try to get to a solution? In other words, and I cannot stress this enough, don't be whiny. That is your boss. Number 2 is your mentor. Your mentor doesn't even have to work in the same company. They are the person you call to give the tea. And you tell them what truly happened, and you tell them when you're truly pissed off, and then you ask them for advice, and then you guys talk about it. Your sponsor is the person who bangs the table for you to get a promotion, who opens the door for you, who introduces you to other relationships so that you can build your career. What is the biggest mistake people make with these 3 relationships? The biggest mistake is when you think that your boss is your mentor, and you go to your boss and complain about everything. Your boss can be your mentor, but you have to have had that conversation. I have made that mistake. If you assume that your boss is your mentor, but your boss is not interested in being your mentor, your boss will just view you as a complainer. When you get to executive roles, people want people who can handle difficult problems. So if you're always seen as the person who's complaining versus finding solutions, that muddies the waters in that relationship between being your boss and being your mentor. One person can do both, but you do have to have an understanding and you do have to be able to delineate, okay, listen, for this conversation, I don't want to talk to you as my boss. I'm talking to you as my mentor. I want to vent. You have to be clear about that. You have to be clear about who you can actually be vulnerable with. And that is truly one of the biggest mistakes I have seen people make in the workplace, is they think that they're being vulnerable, but they're being vulnerable with the wrong person. The person that they're being vulnerable with doesn't know what to do with their vulnerability. So have your tea people, the people you call to give the tea, but it does not need to be your boss. As a matter of fact, it's better if that person's not your boss. Also, I hear people wonder why their boss is not the sponsor. Your boss should advocate for you, but one of the potential reasons why you need a sponsor who's not your boss is because if your boss is pounding the table for you and only you, that could be viewed as favoritism. So your boss needs to back you up for sure, but it's actually better if you have other sponsors outside of your boss. Question, please, mic for her, please. Maybe there might be people online.
Is this on? Okay. So can you clarify a little bit more about sponsor? Because I've had sponsors outside that don't necessarily advocate for me for where I am, but find other roles where they think that I would be a great fit. Is that a
Yes.
different?
No, same.
Okay,
You
okay.
can have sponsors within your organizations. You can also have sponsors outside of your organizations. Both is better. More is better. Because the reality is, when you're advancing in your career, if there is no path for you in your current company, you got to go outside. So if you have people outside, that's a plus. All right. What is this? Oh, that's my thing number 2, by the way. Understand the relationships. You must take the time to build the relationships and understand the purpose of each different relationship. Okay, thing number 3, what's this? Time. When you turn your hourglass upside down, what do? You then stare at it and you wait for it. I found myself, if you find yourself feeling like you're held back and you just want to break out and do something, but for whatever reason you haven't gone and broken out and done it yet, I guarantee you part of what's holding you back is yourself. So here's the thing number 3. Permission not required. When you move into executive roles, one of the big shifts that you must make is to be able to just go do things without waiting for someone else to give you permission to do them. I'll talk a little bit more about what this means. So sometimes I hear people say about someone, they'll say, it's not time for them to get promoted because they're not strategic. And then you tell someone they're not strategic and they're like, what does that even mean? That's one of the most annoying things I hear people say is that person's not strategic, and then they don't explain what that means. So here is my interpretation of what strategic means. It just means having bigger ideas. So there's a difference between, for example, we need a new website versus we need to differentiate. We are not differentiated enough in the marketplace amongst our competitors. We need a new website is small potatoes. We are not differentiated is bigger, it's broader, it has more of an impact. So sometimes when people say you're not strategic, it just means you don't think big enough. You're thinking about these little piddly things. So try to, and being strategic is actually a muscle. It grows over time. And the more you develop it, the bigger you'll start to think. So here's how I think about it. in terms of steps. Number one is actually have ideas. So don't limit yourself to your current scope. Think outside of your scope. Give yourself, you do not need permission to think outside of your scope. Just start thinking outside of your scope and have ideas. Please do not confuse this with going rogue. I am not recommending anyone go rogue, especially if you work in a corporate environment. So, number one is have ideas. Number two is put it in writing. And I really do have to stress here, we are not looking for perfection. So what you put in writing doesn't have to be perfect. It does need to make sense and be concise and be communicable. So put your idea in writing and then socialize it. Start with your trusted allies and say, here's an idea that I have. What do you think? That's also another way to avoid going rogue. So when you socialize it and then you get buy-in to go do it, then just go do it. Go call the people. Go book the meeting. Go do the thing. Part of being strategic is not waiting to be told what is needed. It's really just going and figuring out what is needed and then going and understanding how to get it done and then getting it done. So once you go through those 4 steps, just do it all over again. And then your ideas will get bigger and bigger and bigger, and as your ideas get bigger, your scope will get bigger. Voila, you're strategic. Okay, so we have 10 minutes left. I do want to make sure I have time for questions. So take your little piece of paper.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, where am I looking?
On your left. Here.
Okay, yes, ask your question.
What happens when you're trying to be strategic, but the dependency is on other teams, and therefore your strategic never really made it out the door?
Yeah, oh, I love that question. For the rest of your life, as long as you work in a corporate career, you will have dependencies on other teams. So that is a thing that you can never, ever, ever escape, even if you're the CEO. So my first response to that would be embrace it and go try to get the buy-in to get the other teams to help you. And that you cannot do by yourself. That takes time, that takes education, that takes communicating over and over and over again. Who here has worked on a project that took like 3 years to get off the ground? Like everybody knew it was a good idea, but because there were so many dependencies, it couldn't grow legs. So that is a reality, and you have to find friends, phone some friends to help you get it sold. And sometimes it doesn't work, and then you have to move on to something else. So let me give you 3 minutes. Just write down these 3 things in your little piece of paper. Number 1 is purpose. Number 2 is your relationship map. And number 3 is strategic reframing. So for your purpose, and you don't have to finish it all now, but start to think about maybe what are some words that define who you are. For your relationship map, you know who your boss is, so you don't need to write that down. Who is your mentor, or who are your mentors? And who is or are your sponsors? And if you don't have those yet, that is okay. Maybe think about some targets. And then number 3 is your strategic reframing. So what is that thing that you thought maybe it would be good to do it, but you thought you needed permission to do it? And then tomorrow you're just going to go write it down and you're going to socialize it, you're going to get some buy-in, and then you're just going to go do it. So I'll give you a couple minutes just to write things down, and then I will take questions. Okay, who has questions? See a couple up here. There's a couple up here.
Quick question. Does your sponsor have to be at a higher like level than you? Or can they be sort of like on an equal footing, but maybe have a broader network?
I think it's okay, as long as they can serve the purpose, right? The purpose of a sponsor is to advocate for you and open doors to opportunity. So as long as they can do that, I think that's okay. There are some questions up
I have
here.
a question.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
What happens if you're really good at what you do and your boss really likes you, and therefore he wants to keep you at what you're doing, and therefore gives you very little room to grow upward? Is that the time to start thinking about looking outside?
Hopefully your boss is not at this conference. I would say yes. I would say if your boss really likes you, have an honest conversation with your boss about your desire for career advancement and try to get a commitment from them, because they may not know, right, unless you have the conversation. So try to get a commitment from them to help you advance. But honestly, if it's not materializing, it's time to look somewhere else.
Thank you. Going back a little bit to the sponsor again, do you have any advice or like qualities to look for, or what do you think someone should use as like identifier and like where in the business? I kind of going back to that question, but also like, I guess, should it be within your organization, part of the organization, that kind of thing? If that,
Yeah.
yeah.
So when you're starting to find sponsorship, it's most helpful to just look adjacent, right? Like it's going to be much harder if you went and tried to find a sponsor outside, unless you've worked in a bunch of different places, then it's easier. But I would say start where you are. If you haven't already built sponsorship and you're just starting out, start where you are. So find leaders who embody the qualities that you want. For me, I like leaders who are human. I like leaders who don't have a different persona at work than they have at home. You know, like everybody has certain things, certain qualities that they really admire in a leader. Find those people and then approach them, help them, like offer things of value, right? Help them, approach them, start having, it's like building a friendship. It's like dating, you know? Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. You have to demonstrate, right? So start where you are and then build out from there.
So, in establishing those relationships with a sponsor or mentor, what do you recommend as the first step? Like, how do you get the ball rolling?
Yeah. Approach them. So whether that's like a virtual approach or an approach in person, it depends on what the context is. So let's say it's at work and you found someone maybe in a different team that works closely with your team. One day you have a meeting and they're hanging back and so are you. Start a random conversation and say, you know, I've been thinking about booking a coffee with you, and you'll see their response, right? So if the response is immediately positive, go ahead and book that coffee. And when you book that coffee, show up with an agenda. So that doesn't mean you have to have like 40 pages of things. It simply means you have to say out loud, why are you here? How can you help me? So please do not go to people and say, will you be my mentor? In the first conversation. Just build a rapport and then build out from there. Versus if you're in a conference and you see someone, maybe you sat at the same table over lunch and then you discovered they're in a similar field, ask them, you know, would you mind keeping in touch? Add them on LinkedIn, then send them a message. Then if they don't live in the same city, book a virtual meeting.
Thank you.
How do you know, like I was listening to when you mentioned there's opportunities within or you need to look outside. How do you know if it's the culture of where you work and the limited growth potential, or if it's you that you haven't projected enough executive presence?
That is a great question. You have to have those trusted allies that will tell you the truth. That is part of relationship building, is finding people who you can trust to tell you why. You must find out why. And that comes with building relationships with folks who will actually let you in.
Do you have any recommended questions to ask yourself to figure out your purpose?
What gives you energy? Like when do you feel your best? When do you feel your, what is that thing called? Flow. When do you feel you're in a state of flow? So try to find things that give you energy. Look around you and see, like, vibe is a real thing, at least in my opinion. So look around you and figure out what just makes you feel the vibe. And you'll have certain people that you vibe with, and look at the qualities that those people have, and that will help you with defining your purpose. And it does take time, like, also read books, listen to podcasts, do all those things, and one day you'll get a light bulb when you least expect it. The quote that I showed you came from a podcast that I was listening to, and then I heard it, and I was like, oh my God, I've never heard anything that resonated with me as much as that thing. But it took a while. Okay, the red thing is blinking. So I do have to go, but I am around today and I'm around tomorrow. So I'm happy to have random conversations. It is really bright up here, so if I don't recognize you, just tell me that you were in my workshop and you have a question for me. Okay, I'm humbled to have shared this time with you. Thank you for engaging with me, and hopefully this has been helpful to you.